Clickbait. Clickbait is not really a problem for me as a content creator. The problem I have most often is people who accuse me of making clickbait, and they then criticize or attack my videos, not for something they actually say, but for something they imagine to be my ulterior motive, the point I'm actually secretly, covertly driving at. Like for a very abstract example, there's an obsessive hater of this channel who's been sending me harassment, threats, defamation for years. Fandar, shout out to Fandar, who is convinced if I make a video talking about Nina-and-Randa and how their comedy isn't funny or their music videos are awful or making any particular point about Nina-and-Randa, it can't possibly be that that's the real meaning, my real motivation in making the video, that I've come on to really talk about that topic that's there in the title and the thumbnail. No, this must be clickbait. It must be something else I'm driving at. And then he imagines what it is I'm driving at and then criticizes me for that. He ends up criticizing me for things I've never said, I don't mean, I don't intend at all. I used to work in book publishing. I really think, to speak a little bit philosophically about clickbait, I really think clickbait is something that's been with us long before we had the internet. My father once received as a gift a big, hardcover, respectable-looking book that was titled The History of Irish Erotic Art from the Early Celtic Period through the Renaissance. So he receives this book. I completely forget who gave him the book, if I ever knew, right? He receives this book. He looks at the cover. He's completely baffled. Irish erotic art? My father was an art historian and a museum curator. So, he's thinking, ancient Celtic Irish erotic art? What could this possibly be about? Almost every culture in the world has some history of erotic art, whether it's ancient Egypt or ancient China, but, ancient Greece and Rome, tons of erotic art. Irish erotic art? He opens the book. Every single page is blank. And if you turned the book over and read the back, they really leaned into the joke. There were, quotations from alleged academics and experts saying, this book is really compendious. It really, really thoroughly researches and discusses every example, this sort of thing. And the point is, you open the book, and inside there is nothing at all. I remember I looked into it, and the same publisher had done the same joke again and again by putting a different dust jacket, a different cover on the same printed book. So whoever came up with this idea made money out of it. But I just point out, that is clickbait without a mouse, without a click, without the internet. And in terms of the book publishing world, that's not a problem that's becoming more marginal or more rare. It's actually becoming more common and more pernicious. I now have the experience of buying books on Amazon over the internet, where I don't get to see the book, I don't get to open the book or leaf through the book before buying it. And there are many cases where the title of the book or the cover of the book will not tell you what's inside, will really mislead you as to what's inside. I think every single time so far I've managed to get a refund. Maybe there are one or two times I'm forgetting where I was really disappointed and I was stuck with the book anyway and was stuck paying for it. But actually the scope for the clickbait phenomenon, it goes far beyond the internet. It goes far beyond YouTube. And what we're talking about here in principle is where the title of the video or the cover image of the video, what it is you'd click on, what describes the article or the film, whatever it may be, is fundamentally misleading, whether that's for comedic purposes or not, whether that's in order to make money, reach a larger audience or not. This certainly happened in the golden era of newspapers a great deal. Tabloid newspapers were most infamous for this, for having shocking headlines and even the first few sentences of an article seeming to promise you that some terrible crime has been committed, some exciting new evidence has been revealed. I still see this happening with the British royal family. That's the only, I don't know why it is, but somehow people feel they can get away with saying anything about members of the British royal family. And people will pick this up and buy the newspaper. And then if they actually start reading the article, they find, in effect, It's clickbait. There's nothing of the sort there at all. Now, my personal problem with this is that I see the way in which the culture of clickbait gives people the license to criticize me, not for what my point actually is, and not for what my interests actually are, but for what they construe to be my interests, or what they construe to be my implied meaning, which may not be, what I have to say at all. Now, I have made well over 1,000 videos on my channel. Have we crossed 2,000 yet? We're maybe getting closer to 2,000 videos. I have had well over 4 million views. We are getting closer to 5 million views now, okay? I cannot say to you I have absolutely never made a video that by this criterion was clickbait. I can remember one video where, as a joke, I really had an intentionally misleading title. One video out of about 2,000. But it's very, very rare. Way, way more than 99% of my videos. The title and the image you see before you click on the video, it really is trying to tell you what the video is about. Now, if you want to judge me for being an idiot, or you want to judge me for having a kind of sincere interest in a lot of things you think are boring or trivial, that's fair. I would really encourage, fair criticism. And maybe that's part of what it is. I mean, I know Fandar is not the only one. Fandar is the craziest and most passionate critic of this kind. I think some people kind of can't accept that I would really sincerely be engaged in a critique of Nina-and-Randa or someone like Unnatural Vegan, that there must be an ulterior motive, that this must be clickbait, there must be something else I'm driving at. But I am. Like, all this stuff. When I make a YouTube video talking about Batman and what I think is wrong with the latest Batman movie, that's what the title says, that's what the image shows you, and that's really sincerely what I'm talking about. When I talk about Game of Thrones, sorry, I was just scrolling through my recent videos. Every single one, I'm looking at several hundred videos here. Most of the time, when I'm talking about something quite trivial this way, from my own perspective, I have some kind of reasonably profound point I want to make about it. Like, from my perspective, what I have to say about Batman is profound and important and interesting, even if Batman is trivial. And from my perspective, what I have to say in my critique of Unnatural Vegan and Nina-and-Randa and these other personalities, James Aspey, Maddie Limburner, personalities primarily who I've known through vegan activism, sometimes some other way. From my perspective, it actually is profound and worth talking about, and I'm sincerely motivated by the topics at hand. Now, the other problem with the sort of clickbait mentality, I don't mean the mentality of people creating clickbait, but people perceiving my work as clickbait, is that they're often overlooking the extent to which there are profoundly important things that the two people having the dispute through YouTube videos really care about. And an outsider might not even be able to perceive what those things are. So this is one of the reasons why I'm humoring Fandar with this response video. Fandar is not vegan. Fandar has no interest in vegan activism. And Fandar's interpretation of why Unnatural Vegan became furious with me is 100% wrong. What made Unnatural Vegan snap from being kind of, to some extent, my friend, she was actually quite positively disposed, where she spoke positively about me in a number of videos. She made videos specifically supporting me. She had the link to my channel from her channel. She did a lot of stuff for a brief time. She was openly a fan of my channel, spoke positively both of me as a person and of the channel. And then she snapped and became my enemy. She started saying vicious things against me. Why did that happen? For many, many years, she really passionately supported, propounded, and cared about the philosophy of Peter Singer. I don't know to what extent she's changed, to what extent she's lost her passion or interest in the work of Peter Singer, but I can definitely say Peter Singer meant more to her 5 years ago than Socrates has ever meant to me or Aristotle has ever meant to me. She really, like, her sense of identity, her sense of why she was vegan, why she was utilitarian, the meaning of life, what it was she discovered and learned in her university degree. Peter Singer was a big deal to her, a really big inspiration in her life. And she was hurt to hear me in such an offhand, self-confident way, just completely insulting and denigrating and discarding the intellectual tradition of Peter Singer, like his work and also his influence on others, and indeed the whole utilitarian tradition before him and all the people who followed his footsteps, which is sincere. Now, at that time, I think I already had made some videos talking about that in greater depth. But part of what she's saying, because the emails are public, part of what she's furious about is that I would dare to say these things without backing them up or without substantiating them further. And I did rush at that time to say, like, okay, I'll explain further what exactly my position is on Peter Singer. Today, there are at least 10 YouTube videos talking about philosophy of Peter Singer, veganism, animal rights, what the conflicts are between them, Peter Singer, his view of intelligence and life and death and murder and all these funny things. I mean, it's a complicated, peculiar thing in the history of philosophy. And Peter Singer is very unusual because he's kind of an academic philosopher, but who's ended up becoming famous on mainstream television. And look, I have a human heart. I mean, maybe when I was 14 or 15 years old, I thought Woody Allen was a real intellectual. Maybe it was 13. I don't know. I don't know how far back this goes. And, like you have this moment of recognition. Like, Woody Allen is not a particularly intelligent person. Like, Woody Allen, he made a couple of funny films in the 1960s and everyone acts like he's this intellectual. But I mean, why would anyone respect Woody Allen? You have some point where you're maybe an image you built up. And, for me, really, like, what did it mean to be an intellectual or be a creative person in the 21st century? I was looking to people like Woody Allen that today I just laugh at, I just scorn, I see them as no significance, I see no value in their work whatsoever. But look, I have a human heart. It is very easy for me to relate to, and I could feel it in Unnatural Vegan's videos where she talked about Peter Singer. Again, this is videos made more than 5 years ago now. I could tell that this really was a big deal. This was something she was really passionate about. It's very easy for someone to come in from the outside and just say, oh no, this is clickbait. This isn't what the dispute is really about. That's not what's really going on here. You're driving at something else with some ulterior motive, some other reason. No. Unnatural Vegan really cares about the philosophy and intellectual legacy of Peter Singer. I'm really a very harsh critic of it, or you could say I really despise it. What did Unnatural Vegan do to try to hurt me in response? She tried to frame me as being a phony scholar of Buddhism, which she did a very poor job of. Now, probably for a lot of other people, that would have really hurt their feelings. You got the wrong guy. Oh yeah, I'm a terrible scholar, but okay, go right ahead. I'm not real easy to intimidate. It's not real easy to hurt my feelings that way. And if you read the correspondence between us, I'm saying to her things because I didn't know if she was going to continue talking to me. I'm saying this like, do you know what it's like to really work hard on something and research something for 10 years? Do you know what it's like to really become an expert in a field with like 10 years of hard work that involves learning a language and sleeping under a mosquito net and chopping firewood with an axe and learning another language just so you can learn another language and studying the history and politics. Like think a little bit about what I did and what this means to me. And I said, look, if you want to criticize my work on Buddhism, you're welcome. Great. Nothing could be more welcome. I would love to have other YouTubers or other. Go ahead. Here are the links to my articles. Read the articles. Say I'm a terrible scholar of Buddhism, or tell me where I'm wrong, or tell people where you just. Great. But if you're going to denounce me as a scholar of Buddhism, actually look at my work and think about what I did during whatever. You can pick 5 years, 10 years, whatever period of time you want to look at. So in that case, it's kind of more hypothetical than actual. But she felt I was striking out at her and hurting her by saying these insulting things about Peter Singer. From my perspective, I'm not. I'm really genuinely insulting Peter Singer. And I think she tries to hurt me in return, expecting that I'm going to be really defensive if she starts to call me out over Buddhism. So for an outsider, these things may be, maybe easily misinterpreted, maybe easily misrepresented. And certainly I've seen this happen again and again with many, many disputes with many people. Now, admittedly, not all of my conflicts with other YouTubers are so profound. what I had to say about Nina-and-Randa that a small number of people remain obsessed with for whatever reason. Melissa is here off camera. I had an interview lined up once with another vegan activist. This was a guy who he had experience in the early days of Anonymous for the Voiceless in Chiang Mai, Thailand. He was a white guy who was involved. He got on the ground level with Paul Bashir in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I thought we were going to have a long conversation about vegan activism and maybe politics of Thailand. There were kind of a lot of things worth talking. And the minute he gets on the phone with me, he wants to give me a morality lecture about Nina-and-Randa. He's never even seen the video, right? Vegan foot soldier. Was that, I think, 3 years or 4 years that he hated me and basically sent me hate mail and made hateful comments about me on the internet about what I allegedly said about Nina-and-Randa. And eventually I established, I talked with him about it periodically over a period of 3 years. And eventually we established that he had never seen the video. He had just made up in his own imagination what. And when he finally did see the video, because I in a conversation, look, do you mean when I said this? And I sent him to a timestamp. He said, oh, well, that's a way more polite video you made later covering up what you said the first video. I said, no, dude, that's the video. That is the video. You never watched it. You've hated me for all these years. Or what you think I said. You don't know what I said. It's not a more polite video. That's the original video. It's supposedly so scandalous. So a small number of people have let this blossom in their minds into something it's really not. But look, at a very early age, this distinction between high culture and low culture was something I learned to reject, right? My parents were communists, but they were also people who really uncritically worshipped high culture, which is, insert snarky remarks here. My parents were people who would just completely uncritically assume that there was more political significance to a new production of Shakespeare's King Lear or Shakespeare's King Henry VIII, King Henry V, top Henry. I don't know how many King Henrys Shakespeare did. They would think there was more political significance to a new production of Shakespeare like this than there would be to, say, a mainstream movie like Boys in the Hood came out. Right? So if you don't know, the film Boys in the Hood had a lot of political significance for a whole generation of people in the United States. It really did, for better or for worse, right? For absolutely no valid reason, something going on in an art gallery in Paris or Milan, which would reach a tiny number of people, and it would only reach people who are already really inured to this art form. Even if there's an exciting new painting in that exhibition, it's being shown to an audience of people who see an exciting new painting every month. They're the people who go to these art gallery openings. It really has very little impact. But there could be something really politically significant happening in rap music. For me, when I was a small child, I remember really responding to the comedy of Chris Rock, openly political comedy of Chris Rock about, basically the shadow cast by the rise and fall of the Black Panthers and 1960s radicalism in the United States of America, and of course racial tension in black and white. These things really had political significance, and also they might really have artistic merit, worth talking about. I became very, very skeptical at an early age of the assumption that, there's this distinction between high culture and low culture, and what happens in high culture is what really matters. I don't believe that. I don't. And this may sound strange, but even within the vegan movement, I don't believe that. I don't believe there's some sense in which Gary Francione presenting an academic paper at a conference and only 30 people ever listen to this academic paper or read it or see it on YouTube. This is so-called high culture because it takes place on a university campus. I don't think that is more meaningful than the rise and fall of Freely the Banana Girl. For better or for worse, for a couple of years there, Freely was one of the most politically influential voices in veganism. I was one of the critics saying it was for worse. But I'm someone, I really want to deal with rap music and Batman and Freely and Nina-and-Randa. I want to deal with human nature as it is. I want to deal with human beings as they truly are. I do not address human beings as they ought to be, right? I do not write books appealing to, angels trapped in human flesh. I write appealing to your flesh. I make YouTube videos. I make monologues. I'm speaking to you heart to heart, flesh to flesh. I'm someone who's all too human, and you are too, right? For me, there's real sincerity when I look at Nina and Randa, whether I'm, offering a criticism or whether I'm saying something, more sympathetic or more appreciative, which if you watch all of our videos about Nina and Randa, you will actually sometimes see. There's an extent to which I can sympathize with their struggle. So really briefly, because we're doing this for the fans, and we're also doing this for one special fan out there called Fandar. Have you heard of the Merrill twins? Nina and Randa's whole channel is a second-rate imitation of the Merrill twins. And the contrast between the two is actually worth philosophizing about briefly unto itself. Nina and Randa list their videos and then click sort by most popular. So you're looking at their videos that are the highest number of views of all time. And what are you looking at? 3 million, 3 million, 2 million, 2 million, 2 million, 1.4 million. Big numbers, right? Merrill twins, 22 million, 19 million, 17 million, 13 million. They're on another level. The Merrill twins started first. They became successful before Nina and Randa. They always have been better looking than, more talented than, harder working than, and more successful than Nina and Randa. Nina and Randa's whole career has been in the shadow of this other pair of twins living in some ways a parallel life. And they know each other. And I'm sure that makes it worse. If you're looking at the list of the most successful videos that have ever been on Nina and Randa's channel, number 3 is a guest appearance from the Merrill twins. And they did appear. They did a song they appeared on the Merrill twins channel. They've been to each other's houses. They know each other face to face too. To some extent, I don't think they're friends. And there's another contrast. When you look at the most successful videos on Nina and Randa's channel, they're all trying to exploit the sexuality of Nina and Randa. Number 1 is Dirty Truth or Dare. Number 2, another video titled Dirty Truth or Dare. Number 3 is the guest appearance from the Merrill twins. As I've mentioned before, there were a lot of videos of them wearing blindfolds and licking their boyfriends, the Lick My Body challenge and this kind of thing. And when you look over at the Merrill twins, for some reason that's not what I'm looking at all. All right, I got a human heart. I can sympathize. I really can sympathize with the struggle that Nina and Randa have been through. I can even sympathize with the extent to which their unearned success being entirely handed to them by their father makes the situation they're in now worse or all the more tragic. To my knowledge, just a couple months ago, they bought, if they didn't buy, they leased or have a long-term rental on, but they seemingly bought a studio where it looked like they were going to really crack down, really start working hard on making YouTube videos. They've renovated a studio, and then mysteriously in the months since, nothing of the kind eventuated, but they renovated a studio. I can imagine the kind of struggle they're in as creative people. Now, a lot of others have done worse. There are a lot of other people whose lives have really been ruined by a brief period of fame on vegan YouTube. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the gal's name now. There was a skinny, blonde vegan, the former girlfriend of Plantriotic, and she made a video recently talking about the fact that her income is $50,000 a year. Her rent in Los Angeles, which she says she's lucky to pay, is about $2,000 a month. She got a huge amount of university debt. She went to a very expensive university and got a university degree that is apparently completely useless to her. She had a brief period of fame as both doing ASMR videos and being a vegan. Iggy the Fruit Bat, that was her name. Izzy Davis, Izzy the Fruit Bat, She had a brief period of fame. She's not even vegan anymore. She doesn't have any significant number of viewers anymore, a couple thousand here and there. Look at Henumania. The rise and fall of Henumania. Think about what it's like to be. Henumania is openly suicidal today. There are a lot of people for whom this roller coaster ride has turned out much, much worse, has ended on a much lower low than Nina-and-Randa. But look, guys, I'm not cruel or vicious about this. I can see the trajectory for Nina-and-Randa, and frankly, I see it starting with the fact that their rivals, the Merrill twins, started their YouTube channel in 2009. Whereas Nina-and-Randa, who were groomed for fame by their parents from birth, who had a social media career literally while they were in diapers because of who their parents were, they started their channel in 2013. The Merrill twins have over 1.1 billion views, utterly dwarfing Nina-and-Randa's career. I've got a human heart. So, and all of this stuff, I am sincerely interested in. I don't have an ulterior motive. In this case, there's no more profound philosophical issue as there was in the fracas with Unnatural Vegan. Like, this isn't about the philosophical legacy of Peter Singer or something equivalent to that. It isn't, It's about the fact that we live in a world where people like Nina-and-Randa, people like Vegan Cheetah, now known as Charles Marlowe, were literally invited to appear on stage. They were put on stage. They were platformed by Nina-and-Randa's father. And Nina-and-Randa's father basically purchased his position as a leader in the vegan movement. So what would be just a sort of funny footnote in history that this pair of twins who, play the guitar badly and make awful music videos and make comedy videos that aren't funny, they're really not, for me, has a lot more political significance than it might have for you or you or you in the audience. It has more political significance and has greater consequences in my eyes. It has consequences that might be invisible to someone like Fandar, who's just coming in and regarding this from the outside as someone who doesn't know about veganism, doesn't care about the past, present, or future of the vegan movement. And when they look at my videos, no matter how honest I am in the title and the thumbnail, saying, hey, this is what I'm going to talk about. This is what we're going to talk about. This is why. And all my videos, they come to a pretty clear conclusion, right? When they see that and they think, no, that can't be why he's making this video. There must be something else going on here. And the truth is, there's nothing else going on here. I'm just someone who really cares about these ethical issues, about the future of the vegan movement, about the future of life on planet Earth. When I made videos about Onision, they were not clickbait. I was really interested in talking about the ethical issues raised by whatever the drama was at the time surrounding Onision. When I made a video recently talking about Kevin Smith and the Amazing Atheist. My motivations, completely sincere, completely transparent, and the reason I'm making the video is right there in the title. It's not clickbait, and I'm not trying to steal viewers from Kevin Smith or the Amazing Atheist or anything else, right? We have this great idiom in English, Occam's razor. I think we need a new idiom where you stop and challenge yourself. Think, wait a minute. What if the simplest explanation for what this person is doing and what this person is saying is that they really sincerely mean exactly what it is that they say? What if the secret message that they're trying to deliver isn't so secret? What if it's right there in the title? What if it's right there in the conclusion of the video? What if what I'm driving at is exactly what I've been trying to say all along? In 2020, clickbait is a problem. It's a problem for creators. It's a problem for people in the audience. It's a problem for a whole lot of people who order a book in the mail, and then when the book arrives, it's not really what you were expecting based on the title and the cover. And I do think that part of our personal integrity as creators is to put a title on the video that lets you know what I'm talking about, lets you know where we're going. Maybe it doesn't let you know the conclusion. I think you've got to be sincere with your audience. And I have to ask the audience to recognize my sincerity and to criticize me for the things I actually say, not something they imagine that I said, because they treat my content as if it were clickbait.